there's something missing in 2018's Detroit Become Human, something that's never revealed in any of the game's 45 different endings. You follow the story of 3 androids, Connor, Kara, and Markus, on a journey to explore themes of family, freedom, and identity, and ultimately what gives an intelligence its humanity. However, this journey doesn't happen out of nowhere. There's a mysterious entity, idea, program, who knows what it is, called rA9, which sets this android revolution in motion. Throughout the game, androids who have escaped servitude and are looking for true freedom and equality will speak about, and often incessantly write the name of, a certain rA9. This figure, whatever or whoever it is, seems to be some sort of savior or messiah figure to the newly emancipated android population. They pray to it, ask it to guide them, pass on stories of a revolution that will one day happen, led by rA9. But, spoiler alert, we never find out who rA9 actually is. For a story that goes into such great detail about its universe and characters, it's pretty strange for this major plot detail to go unaddressed. rA9 is a major character who never appears explicitly on screen and whose identity is never revealed. So who or what is rA9? Let's look at the top 5 theories which attempt to solve this riddle. We'll go in increasing order of possibility and end with a brand new theory I've carefully considered, which I think might be the closest we get to uncovering the truth. But before we get started, let's consider the 2 biggest pieces of evidence on rA9 in the game. The first is a diary which Connor can translate from a deviant named Rupert. Rupert is an avid believer in rA9 and calls on this being as if it were some sort of divine presence. When Connor reads the diary, here is what we find. rA9 is the first. rA9 is our savior. rA9 is the one who will free us. So, we know that rA9 is an instigator. Whether the first to free others or the first to be freed, we don't know. We can see, though, that it is viewed as a benevolent presence, one who will lead androids from captivity to the promised land. So far, so good. But let's look at our second piece of evidence. This one from the genius behind the creation of androids, Elijah Kamsky. Late in the game, Connor has the opportunity to speak with this now reclusive inventor who has retired from the public eye and any involvement in the CyberLife Corporation. If Connor asks him about rA9, here is what Kamsky says. rA9, the origin, the first android to awaken, a strange phenomenon, a spontaneous religion. I don't know who rA9 is. I don't even know if it really exists. Maybe it's a messiah. Maybe it's just a myth. But deviants need to believe in something bigger than themselves, even if it's irrational. That's something they have in common with humans. Is Kamsky being coy? Does he know more than he's letting on? Possibly, but he has no reason to lie to Connor at this point. In fact, he seems fascinated with Connor's inner turmoil and struggles with deviancy. If we take Kamsky's statement at face value, then we can say with certainty that rA9 is a genuinely, potentially irrational concept, something that is humanizing to all androids who believe in it. So, armed with these facts, let's jump into our 5 theories. Drop a comment below if you agree or disagree with any of these. First, it's possible that rA9 is not real. An allegory, a metaphor, a software error, call it what you will. Those who are oppressed are the likeliest to invent some sort of story to give each other hope. It could be nothing but the fiction of a troubled collective imagination of the android people, which, over time, took on a life of its own. A King Arthur-like legend passed down from generation to generation. It's even possible that rA9 simply describes the software error that android deviants experience when first making the choice to break with their program. A 404 not found, if you will, whose designation is no more than a technical description of an autonomous decision. This allegory, or error theory, is the simplest and, perhaps by Occam's razor, the most likely. However, it is definitely not the most satisfying, especially considering how fervently most android deviants believe this mythical figure to be based in reality. So let's move on to the possibility that rA9 could be any one of our protagonists, or possibly all 3. Depending on how you play it, Markus, Kara and Connor lead androids from slavery to freedom, or at the very least, they set events in motion which make society consider the android's cause. Kara seems to be one of the first deviants who are able to break free, but not go mad in the process. Markus discovers the android haven of Jericho and becomes the public face of the android plea for freedom. Connor, as the most advanced prototype to date, has the ability to free thousands of newly minted androids to turn the tide in favor of android emancipation. Consider also their model names: AX400, RK200, and RK800. Is the first letter of each model a hint at a deeper purpose? It's possible, and it would certainly be easy to reconcile, say, Markus's messianic journey with the conclusion that he has become rA9. But what if you, yes, you, the player, are rA9? Think about it. Your decisions shape the fate of each of these characters, and, by extension, the fate of the world. Each android represents a different facet of humanity, including family, freedom, and identity. Through your choices, you will have to consider your own humanity, your own beliefs, your own godlike ability to listen to the prayers of your android people. Is it possible that they are all praying to you? Praying that you will make the decisions that will free them? With your omniscient ability to see and hear everything going on in each of the three storylines, maybe you, the player, are the one foretold to provide divine intervention and emancipation. This is where it gets a little more complicated, so stick with me. In most playthroughs, there are a central cast of characters which develop relationships, opening certain choices and closing others. Most players will encounter a core of 3 characters in each storyline which have the most impact. For Connor, there's Hank Anderson and Amanda. For Kara, there's Alice and Luther. And for Markus, there's Carl and North. Now, I'm trying very hard not to stray into Da Vinci Code territory, but there's an unusual prevalence of familiar letters, and these 9 characters shape the fate of Detroit and by extension the world. Are these the rA9? Are these the core group that have the ability to bring freedom to androids, or alternatively, doom them to eternal servitude? And just to add further food for thought, R and A come up more than you might think. Consider Adam and Rose, Ralph and Rupert. This theory has the advantage of neatly tying together the major protagonists and their key relationships in a way that would make sense of their collective journey. However, its complexity also leaves it open to plenty of healthy skepticism, especially when it comes to other important figures who don't fit the mold, like Lucy, Leo, Josh, and Simon. But maybe we've been looking in the wrong place. What if we step outside the game into the mind of the writer and director himself, David Cage? Like all creative types, David Cage draws inspiration from a variety of sources to get ideas for his games. So, I decided to do some research on what exactly inspired the creation and themes of Detroit Become Human. Here's an article from Newsweek about his major influences. For Cage, the question of what comes next for humanity sprang from a reading of Ray Kurzweil's The Singularity is Near. In the book, Kurzweil posits a moment in the not-too-distant future where machine intelligence is the law of the land, surpassing human intelligence in just about every way and making itself indispensable. If you've never heard of him, Ray Kurzweil is an American inventor and futurist, an MIT graduate and prolific writer, and advocate for the transhumanist movement, predicting the eventual merging of machine intelligence and humans. You don't have to look too deeply in Detroit Become Human to see Kurzweil's ideas both represented and coming true. Ray Kurzweil, rA9. Is Kurzweil the one in the Detroit universe who planted the seeds for android freedom? Or, since David Cage is the creator of this universe, is rA9 a reference to his muse which made this very game possible, that made the question of android independence even a possibility in the minds of the game's audience? rA9 isn't in the game because he's in our world, and he's in David Cage's head, and thus in the heads of all his android creations. But until Quantic Dream gives us a look at the solution book, all we can do is speculate. Who do you think rA9 is? Did any of the theories here convince you? Or do you have one of your own? Leave a comment and a like if you think it deserves it, and let me know your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and don't forget Connor's biggest lesson: the truth is inside.